Yeah.
And like too, like Los was talking about like the Abstergo stuff, and I'm just like, man, like it's a concept that I know they were fucking just throwing it in there. Like
Yeah.
and somebody had an idea and they ran with it and they never figured out a way to like storyboard it or like to finish it up or wrap it up or even like develop it. Cuz like even in like Assassin's Creed 2, it's like they did more stuff with like the Abstergo shit, but it was like nothing like nothing put anything back together. And then at the end of 3 when it's just like oh, Desmond died and he saved the world. Like, and they don't even show anything. It's just a cutscene where it's like, it just shows everybody talking on radios, and then everybody's like, oh, there was a sun glare, sunspot or whatever, and we're all good. Like, it's just,
What?
yeah, it ended with a wet fucking fart, man. And it like, even in like the first game where they're just like, oh, here's the weird, like, now you can see, and here's all the pictures and shit. And like, they just didn't do anything with any of that stuff. Like, right? It's just like it just felt like somebody had an idea and they went with the idea and then just never figured out anything past like, oh, that's a neat idea.
Yeah.
And then like later games, it becomes less and less important. And like by the time Origins rolls around, they're like knee deep in this whole thing of like this team looking for like artifacts or something. And that's all they're doing. So it's just and so it's meant to just go on forever, right? Because there's nobody's committing to any storyline, nobody's like finishing anything. Random minor characters die here and there. That's it. Like and they've changed like the main character in the real world stuff like I think 3 or 4 times at this point. So like I don't know. I'm just like when I think of like the real world shit, I just like roll my eyes because it's just like it's something where I'm like, dude, they didn't think about any of this. It's
Yeah.
it's something that they just were like, oh fuck, we got to worry about that.
Right.
Where I'm like, dude, you could just do the Tsushima thing. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was fine just being a samurai in Japan in 1290, right? Like it was
Yeah.
totally fine. Because anytime they pull you out of the when you get pulled out into the real world shit, it sucks anyway.
Right. I
You
do
know,
remember that. I remember it being like, dude, like why? Like why? Like I remember thinking that. Like,
especially in the
dude.
first one, because like in the first one you
Yeah.
don't do anything. You just
Yeah.
you just like eavesdrop on people in the real world, and I'm like, I've been doing this shit in the game already.
Yeah.
And like, so you don't do any of the like the like building running and like stabbing guards and shit like that. You just kind of stand around until like you progress the cutscene, and it's
Yeah.
just like all right, like it sucked. And 2 was better because they made like those sequences like action sequences and other shit happening, but yeah, it hasn't been like I don't know. I'm just like
Yeah.
anytime I played those games and like the real world shit happens, I'm like, oh yeah. End of Origins too, man. At the end of Origins with the real because the end of Origins in the game was awesome. Like in the history thing, you fucking kill Caesar. Like just dope. I'm like hell yeah, we fucking stabbed Caesar and then everybody else stabbed him too. I'm like yeah.
Yeah.
You killed Caesar. It's like that's like the most famous assassination in all history. So
Sure.
it's like hell yeah. And then fucking they just go back to the real world and they're just like, "Oh, so that's where the hidden one started." And I'm like, "What? What the fuck?" And they're just like they that's how they find out where the assassins started their little creed or whatever.
We
Shut
have a
up.
name drop. We have a title drop. There
I
it
think
is,
they
folks.
legit said it at the end of the movie too. I mean, at the end of the movie, at the end of the game too. It was like, "This is our creed." It's like, just shut the fuck up. Like, what are you? Shut up, fucking loser. Yeah, and that was all it was. It was at the end of Origins. It was like, "Oh man, we found where the assassins started their thing. Now we can locate other artifacts of whatever." I'm like, "Ugh, all right, cool. We'll just do this forever."
Yeah.
story in that one was cool. This guy's son gets killed, so him and his wife gets, separate and all that shit, and he's like an Egyptian sheriff basically. He's a Medjai,
Okay.
which they were pretty much like they were like the knights of like Egyptian society. They didn't own land, but they were like in service of the pharaoh, but they could go pretty much wherever. And like, I mean, in real history, they were much more like, uh, give me some shit, They would just
Yeah.
do that kind of thing. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, fucking, and he gets revenge for his son. It was cool. I like that. That's a good story. Fucking Odyssey was there's our family got separated, and I got to find out who my family is. And then I don't know, even though your brother is like a fucking megalomaniac and tries to kill everybody, you somehow just convince him to not do it, and then everything's hunky dory, and you get all your mom and dad and your brother all together again, even though they all lived separate lives completely away from each other, and in some cases hated each other. It's just like it was so stupid, man. There's a scene at the end of the game where like everybody's just fucking eating dinner in like a house, and I'm like, this sucks. What am I doing?